I just got back from the official opening day of Fantasy Springs in Tokyo DisneySea, and I got all the details you need to know if you're planning on going soon, or if you just want a better idea of what this is all about. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, y'all, every time I leave Tokyo Disney, I miss it. I miss it so much, but now that Fantasy Springs has officially opened for the public, I miss it even more because this new area is awesome. Sorry, was that a spoiler? Nah, you already knew it was going to be awesome. Now, this video is going to walk you through kind of all of the nitty-gritty, the mistakes I made, the things I wish I'd known that would have made life a whole lot easier, kind of getting into the land and making the most of my time and money when I was there. But before we get started with the important details, let me give you a super quick recap of what this is all about. Fantasy Springs in Tokyo DisneySea is the 8th port that opened up on June 6th of this year. That gives us 3 new lands: Frozen Kingdom, Rapunzel's Forest, and Peter Pan's Neverland. The expansion also includes a new park-integrated Tokyo DisneySea Fantasy Springs Hotel. Now, if you want to learn more about all the new rides and restaurants featured throughout the area, you can check out our Disney's brand new Fantasy Springs video after this, but for now, we're going to equip you with the skills you need to reach pro status for this land before you step foot into it. All right, so let's talk about actually getting into Fantasy Springs, because it's not as easy as just walking in the park and strolling right on in. A lot of people want to go to this particular location. To enter Fantasy Springs, you're either going to need a standby pass, which is totally free, or Disney's Premier Access Pass, which is your premium option. Standby works very similarly to how virtual queues work over in the States. You'll pick one of the 4 rides in Fantasy Springs and receive a 1-hour return window to enter the standby line for that ride. You'll also get assigned a 3-hour time window in which you can enter the Fantasy Springs area, but once you step out of the area, that's it. No more Fantasy Springs for you. So make sure you've thoroughly explored this new port before you step out of it, because you won't be able to go back in if you're on a standby pass. Meanwhile, Premier Access is the paid option, similar to individual lightning lanes, also over in the States. You can pay for the Premier Access line for one of the rides for a shorter wait at a designated time, along with an assigned time to enter Fantasy Springs. Each ride per person starts at around 2,000 yen, or 12 to 13 US dollars. This is available for Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey, Rapunzel's Lantern Festival, and Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure. But again, even with Premier Access, you won't be able to enter this area once you've left it. There is, however, a third option that'll help you get into Fantasy Springs, and this option does allow you to come and go from the area as often as you please. And that's thanks to the 1-day passport Fantasy Springs Magic. This ticket grants you access to Tokyo DisneySea, including Fantasy Springs, at any time during the park operating hours, plus unlimited Premier Access lanes at Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey, Rapunzel's Lantern Festival, and Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure. To get this passport, you'll need to book an eligible vacation package with hotel and tickets, or have a stay booked at the Fantasy Springs Hotel. We went the passport route during this past visit just to make sure we could get into Fantasy Springs okay, and let me tell you, it was super handy, especially since I wanted to see Fantasy Springs during the morning and at night, so the passport gave me the option to do that on the same day. We also added the beverage tickets with our vacation package, which we thought was only going to be a one-time thing, but it turned out they were reusable, meaning we could go into any quick service at any time in either DisneySea or Disneyland, didn't have to be in Fantasy Springs, and get free beverages. And that was worth the price of the package alone. So it's kind of like Disney World's refillable mugs, but instead of just using them at hotels, you can refill your mug anywhere around the park as well. Universal has one of these and it's a game changer, so I hope Disney starts taking notes in the States. This is also really handy because the sizes of the drinks at Tokyo Disney are very small. You don't get those giant portion sizes the way you do in the States, and I drink a lot of Diet Coke, so it was very, very nice to be able to get several beverages at some of these locations. By the way, if you're looking for a free ultimate guide to not just Fantasy Springs, but all of Tokyo Disney, we have that for you. Scan the QR code you see on the screen now, or head over to disneyfoodblog.com/Tokyo after this, and we're going to send one to your email faster than you can say faith, trust, and pixie dust. Next thing to know, Fantasy Springs merchandise exists outside of Fantasy Springs. Man, I wish I'd known this. because as soon as I got into the land, I made a beeline for the gift shop when I could have just bought all this stuff the day before. Anyway, Fantasy Springs has some of the best merchandise. You got things like Fantasy Springs specific t-shirts featuring all 3 of the new areas, beautiful glassware to impress your future dinner guests, scrapbooking materials to document your time, tangled lanterns, new mini ears, Lost Boys animal beanies, drawstring bags, miniature versions of the new ride vehicles. I could keep going, but the point is your yen's gonna be burning a hole in your pocket by the end of your time here. Here's the good thing about all this new merch, besides that it exists in the first place. You don't strictly have to purchase it in Fantasy Springs. There's also a store at the front of the park in Mediterranean Harbor, and it sells all the Fantasy Springs merchandise too. The store did have a queue line to get into it the first couple of days that Fantasy Springs was open, and the merch had just released, and while I don't think that's always going to be the norm once Fantasy Springs hype dies down, it's still going to be something you want to be on the lookout for, especially during Tokyo Disney's busier seasons. Now, I made the mistake of basing my merchandise mission, I guess, on kind of how things work in Disney World, like with Galaxy's Edge, where you could only buy that merchandise inside the land. And so as soon as I got into Fantasy Springs, I went right to the back of the park and I went to the merchandise location and I spent a bunch of money and I got a big giant bag full of Fantasy Springs merchandise, some of which we're going to use for giveaways for an upcoming event for DFB, so stay tuned. But then I had to carry it all around with me all day long through the whole park, and it was a giant hassle. I wish I had just waited and gotten that stuff later because they didn't really sell out of too much. Couple of things, but nothing huge. They were really good at restocking stuff. And when we went into the shop in Mediterranean Harbor on the way out, it was all there. Anyway, remember, I make these mistakes so you don't have to. So don't stress over all that merch disappearing before you get your hands on something you really want to take home with you. But if you're still apprehensive and you want to make sure to secure that souvenir early, there are coin-operated storage lockers at the front of the park you can use for the day for around 400 to 800 yen, which is about $3 to $5 in American money. Just keep in mind that if you purchase your merch inside Fantasy Springs, it's on the complete opposite side of the park, and it's a big park. So it's going to be a long walk back to the front entrance to get to those lockers. So I would say just buy your stuff at the front of the park in that shop in Mediterranean Harbor and then go put everything in a locker and then go to Fantasy Springs. One thing you'll also want to note about the Fantasy Springs merch is that you do have to have a park ticket to get it. You won't be able to purchase Fantasy Springs souvenirs at the main Bon Voyage Disney gift shop outside the park, and you're not going to be able to get it in Disneyland either. It's got to be in Tokyo DisneySea. So if you've only got one day to spend in the Tokyo DisneySea park, make sure you get your merch before end of day because you're not going to be able to get it elsewhere. And remember, they don't have park hopper tickets in Tokyo Disney. So even if on your Disneyland day you want to kind of hop over to DisneySea to get it, not going to happen. Okay, Tokyo Disney is already known for its wildly popular quick service restaurants and snack kiosks, and Fantasy Springs is no different. This is the home of 3 brand new quick service joints: Royal Banquet of Arendelle, the Snuggly Duckling, and Lookout Cookout. The good news, you are able to mobile order from these 3 new restaurants via your Tokyo Disney app. The bad news, mobile order fills up pretty quickly, especially for Arendelle. The 2 days we were there during Fantasy Springs grand opening, Royal Banquet of Arendelle had mobile orders completely booked up for the entire day by 10:30 a.m. So book your mobile order return time slot as soon as you scan into DisneySea, as in scan your ticket, book your mobile order, and then take the time to breathe. Because remember, you can't book mobile order until you scan into the park. Also, during the time we were visiting, Fantasy Springs wasn't even letting people into the restaurant without a mobile order, which is pretty new for Tokyo since mobile order wasn't really a thing over there until the end of last year. That being said, once you've mobile ordered from one of these Fantasy Springs locations and secured your spot in the restaurant, you're more than welcome to go up to the counter at any time during your meal and order more food if you want to try something else. So something I wish I was aware of is the crowds. Now, I went in here thinking that the crowds were just going to be atrocious, but they were very surprising in Fantasy Springs because they were reasonable. Despite being at Fantasy Springs for its grand opening, the crowds were pretty minimal and the wait times were really low. And this kind of blew my mind because all of my experiences in Tokyo Disney have been very crowded. Now, there's a few reasons for this. I think Tokyo Disney could be keeping capacity low on purpose in this land, but standby passes for the rides were also still available after park opening on the 7th, so it wasn't just Disney capping the number of guests for the area. But I wasn't complaining. Another reason why this could have been the case is because Tokyo Disney has slow and peak seasons the same way that Disney World or Disneyland do. And June is pretty easygoing for not just Tokyo Disney, but for the whole Tokyo district, because May and July are big vacation months for this city, according to my friend Abby, who's Japanese. So honestly, unlike over in the US, when June can rack up some pretty big numbers once school's out for summer, June's a pretty rockin' time to visit those international parks. And much like everywhere, US and Tokyo alike, weekends are always going to be more crowded in the parks since that's when the locals pop into play. So if you want better chances of lower crowds, try planning your vacation during the weekdays instead. But yeah, I was amazed. Compared to a Saturday during Halloween season, the crowds to get in, even on a Saturday, were extremely reasonable. Not that bad at all, and I didn't feel like I was basically rubbing elbows with everybody all day, and it was relatively easy to get in some of the quick service restaurants that have been very hard to get into in the past in Disneyland and DisneySea proper. So I was amazed by this trip. June, great time to go. Okay, now this is going to be a controversial take, but the specialty popcorn flavor in Fantasy Springs is kind of overhyped. The new roast beef popcorn, well, I don't know if it's new because it's actually also available over at the American Waterfront in DisneySea, so it might just be a new spot for it, is available from the Peter Pan themed popcorn wagon in the Neverland area. This little wagon is designed to look like a boat pieced together from colorful slabs of old wood, so it's cute, I can respect that. But what I can't respect is getting all excited about trying this hyped up roast beef popcorn that's now being sold at the new Fantasy Springs wagon, only to be pretty disappointed by the whole thing. Y'all, this popcorn was so intense and not in a good way. It smells really strongly of meat, which I love meat, but this was overwhelming. And when you taste it, the smoky flavor kind of fills your mouth and it just doesn't let go. I had one kernel and that was enough. It's meaty and savory with a very strong artificial taste that sort of coats your mouth. With that being said, not everyone always agrees with my popcorn reviews, and I'm well aware of that. My friend Abby, who's Japanese, like I said, she really liked this popcorn. So I know there was a long line for that. I'm sure a bunch of people are loving it. So just remember that regardless of the reviews you hear online, it's always good to try this stuff for yourself if it sounds good to you. There's plenty of things that I know people really don't like that I'll eat over and over again because I think they're great. So my roast beef popcorn experience may not be yours, but I did want to warn you about it just in case. Now, if you want great popcorn flavors that I really, really love, and my friends that I go to Tokyo Disney with really love too, some other ones you can enjoy: the corn soup, which they call corn potage flavor, which is over in Toontown. That's really good. The soy sauce and butter, that's right over there by Aquatopia. There's caramel in several places. Milk chocolate is really good. There's curry. So definitely spend some time trying some popcorn flavors and pick the ones you love the most. Okay, next, heads up. The Fantasy Springs Hotel is for hotel guests only, at least for now. You know how back home we can go check out the new Pixar Place Hotel in Disneyland, and how we'll be able to explore the new DVC Island Tower at Polynesian Village in Disney World once it opens up in December, even if we're not staying there? That's not the case right now with the Fantasy Springs Hotel in Tokyo Disney. Currently, the only way to step foot inside the Fantasy Springs Hotel as of now is if you've booked a room there. Otherwise, it's off limits. This is where it gets tricky. Even if you see available priority seating for the Fantasy Springs restaurant pop up in your Tokyo Disney app when you're looking for dining reservations, you still won't be able to dine there without the room reservation in place. So if that's something you really, really want to do, make sure you got a room reservation lined up and ready to go for your big trip, which, by the way, that's really, really hard to do, especially right now because everyone wants to stay there. Now, we talk in depth about how to secure room reservations in Tokyo Disney in our video, What I Wish I'd Known Before Going to Tokyo Disney. So make sure to check that video out when you get the chance, so you can be there in the hotel booking trenches with me. Oh, and by the way, the only other hotel that is no access unless you're staying there is the Toy Story Hotel, which is right there in Tokyo Disney as well. So just a heads up on that. Any of their other hotels you can go into, you can have restaurant dining reservations there even if you're not staying there, no problem. But Toy Story and Fantasy Springs are off limits unless you've got a room reservation there. So what other questions do you have about Fantasy Springs? Be sure to drop them in the comments and we'll get them answered as best we can. Don't forget, we've also got that free guide to all things Tokyo Disney over at disneyfoodblog.com/Tokyo, which you can pick up right now. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. You know I've got all the info you need about Tokyo Disney. Just drop your questions in the comments. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.